You're listening to the Cinemental Podcast.
Shall we begin?
Welcome back to the Cinemental Podcast, where we discuss mental health in cinema, television, and popular culture, and how it is portrayed. What did they get right, what did they get wrong, and what should you know about mental health? I'm Jeffrey Jones, and I'm a screenwriter as well as a professor of screenwriting, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother, America's psychiatrist, Dr. Joshua Jones, who, as well as being a member of the Improbable Mission Force, is a general and forensic psychiatrist. Josh, you're almost ready for the big time with the Impossible Mission Force. You're almost ready.
We will take on any mission that can be completed within 15 minutes.
Improbably. All right, we want you to start your week off right with our podcast, so we drop a new episode every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And we also do a Thursday episode, which you're listening to now, where we talk more broadly about a mental health topic, as well as cover some topics that might be in the news, a little more pop culture stuff. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch our hottest, spiciest clips and full episodes on YouTube. Josh, really enjoyed Monday's episode. If you haven't listened, go back and listen to that. We covered a lot on trust. We covered some narcissism, talked about how Tom Cruise sort of has a type when it comes to movies. What are we talking about today?
Well, Jeff, we are going to talk about Tom Cruise a little bit more in depth. We're also going to talk about, and I'm really excited for this, we're going to talk about the trope of the McGuffin, and you're going to tell us quite a bit about that. Then we're going to talk just some random pop culture stuff, and then I've got a special little segment I want to put out to our growing librarian fan base.
Yes, indeed. The main thing we're talking about today, our big topic we're going to do a deep dive into, is trust. And we're really going to dive into, sort of the psychological effects of lying, con artistry, etc. So we're gonna start our conversation today talking about trust. And what that looks like in the mental health space. I know we all know what it is, but from a doctor's point of view, Josh, tell me some stuff I don't know about trust.
Well, so first, Jeff, trust at its core is it's a psychological state involving a vulnerability to somebody else based on positive expectations of their intentions and behavior.
Vulnerability is a great word there.
Yeah, boiling that down. Think of the dog who will show you its belly. It wants belly rubs. This is, in essence, the epitome of trust and what we're doing with each other. The dog is trusting you that you're not going to stab it in its belly.
Right.
And that is basically what trust is. But it's not just a belief. It's an active choice for us to rely on someone despite the inherent risks of being let down.
Right.
Let me break it down for you a little more. So psychologically, trust is built upon several components. First is the perceived ability or competence of the other person. You think they can do what's expected.
Makes sense.
The second is the perceived benevolence. You think or feel that person genuinely cares about your well-being.
Yeah, they're able and they're good. I love it.
Mm-hmm. The perceived integrity, that the person's going to adhere to those principles and be honest and reliable.
Okay.
And then finally, the predictability of all that, the consistency of the behavior allows us to form expectations and feel secure in that relationship.
Give me those four words, because those are great. So trust is a combination of
perceived ability, benevolence,
goodness,
integrity,
predictability. That's great. Yeah, that is spot on.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it in that way, but that's amazing.
So when you perceive somebody having all those four components and they continue to act that way, that predictability, it builds trust.
Okay, so Tom Cruise or Ethan Hunt always has the ability, he always has the goodness, he always has the integrity, and he always predictably is able to overcome the impossible mission. So Ethan Hunt is the ultimate portrayal of trust. Of a trustable main character. He's the embodiment of trust.
Yeah, yes. And I would
love
posit
that. I
even
love
more
that.
so because that is then portrayed against a backdrop of the spy world,
Right.
of the inherent mistrust in all of that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how you build trust. Conversely, negative experiences with somebody that impacts any of those components can quickly erode trust. It can erode trust faster, actually, than you can build it.
Yeah, and you could even, just one of these things you take out, and you could, this is great, because you have those 4 things, you just remove one of them, and all of a sudden you have a villain. You know, or just somebody who's inept. Like if you remove ability, you can still have goodness, integrity, and predictability, but if they can't get the job done, you can't trust them. You know, that's fantastic. They could have, you know, goodness and ability, but no integrity. You know, Jim Phelps.
Yeah.
You know, he was good for a long time, and then all of a sudden just didn't have integrity, and that led to a lack of predictability, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, you can kind of create a good villain by just removing one of those 4 elements of trust.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good
fascinating.
stuff.
In fact, I think, you know, Jeff, as we go forward, let's look at the villains in our movies based on this 4-prong approach to trust. And I bet you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, I'm into that. Okay, this is not something that I'm at all interested in, but is there what's happening in the brain when it comes to trust? Is there a biochemical element to this?
Well, I'm sorry that you are not at all interested in it. Jesus Christ. You know what, Jeff? At least you are predictable.
Look, I have integrity for our audience. You know, I'm trying to keep it on 100 here.
So I think that this is really the challenge for brain scientists, including psychiatrists, psychologists, and researchers, is that we can look at folks' behavior, but translating that to what's physically actually going on in the
Something
brain.
someone cares about. Oh, sorry. Keep going. I love you.
God, I wish it was. I wish that it was approaching 8:00.
Oh, fuck you. Oh, fuck right off. That is a deep cut for the joke. We're not even going to talk about.
We will
we're
talk
not even
about
gonna talk
that
about
at
that
another
one.
time.
Oh, that is a
okay,
trigger point.
So trigger warning. Okay, so the link between the behavior and the biochemical often eludes us.
I showed no integrity on your part right there. Keep going.
One chemical that has been implicated in trust is something that people have probably heard about if they listen to popular culture. It's called oxytocin. And oxytocin is a peptide or a protein hormone that was actually discovered in 1906 when Sir Dale identified this substance in the pituitary gland that contracted the uterus. And for most of its history, oxytocin has been a Jeff, God damn it.
Sorry.
This is fascinating stuff, you dick.
It is. But as soon as you say pituitary, I'm in. Pituitary and vaginas. Or uteri, whatever the hell it was.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the bullet points.
Tell the truth and it feels good in your pussy. That's basically what Josh just said.
Here's the bullet points, you moron.
Apologize for the use of the word pussy.
The synthesis of synthetic oxytocin won somebody a Nobel Prize. Later research expanded beyond reproduction and showed that oxytocin has a crucial role in social behaviors such as bonding, trust, attachment, earning it the nickname, undeserved by the way, of the love hormone. Current investigations are looking at it as a potential treatment for autism, anxiety, addiction, but the main take-home point is those studies are not ready for prime time yet. Oxytocin is available in a nasal spray, but oxytocin, interestingly enough, in its story, highlights the real problems with bringing bench science, or what's done in a laboratory, to actually impacting us and having a day-to-day improvement in our behavior.
You're talking about oxytocin boosters, anything that says like, hey, lift your
boosts
oxytocin.
I mean, that may or may not happen. As if you take a supplement, that may or may not actually be what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not at all clear whether or not having a boost in your oxytocin at a particular point in time, outside of bonding with an infant, does anything.
Right.
So
Josh, you could have said, just don't take oxytocin boosters, and people still wouldn't have listened to you because you're a doctor who knows what he's talking about, and people don't listen to those people anymore. And we could have skipped the rest.
Or you could let me get a good soundbite out there that you might actually be able to make something of. But I mean, hey, you're the editor. Remember, I depend on that.
I think this has been a great soundbite, personally.
Fucking dickhole.
Once again, I love how nerdy you are, and I love
what's really interesting is probably right now in this interaction between you and I, as much as we're just shitting on each other, we probably are producing oxytocin.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I talk about it all the time, how like this is the best part of my week. And I have awesome weeks. I do really cool stuff. I get to be creative all the time, and this is like the best part of my week is getting to sit here and do this with you.
Jeff just bathes in ground up pituitary glands for the oxytocin. You're doing a cold plunge.
Cold plunge
I'm doing a gland plunge.
I'm sure your 15 doctor friends are like, oh, gland plunge. That's a great joke, Josh. All right. Can we spend just a second and talk about Tom Cruise? I think it's fascinating, and I'm going to posit this. I think he is the last great movie star. I don't know that we will ever see a movie star like Tom Cruise. I don't even know if I have any reasons for that other than every celebrity thinks of him as the biggest movie star. Like, the biggest movie stars in the world will tell you that they pale in comparison to Tom Cruise.
Well, okay,
and that's so telling.
Okay, that may be. That doesn't mean he's the last movie star. I think that's a ridiculous statement, to be perfectly honest. We don't know what the future holds. What does that mean, the last real movie star? I mean,
but there is just something about Tom Cruise that I think is different. I think it's like when people talk about a generational talent, I think that they're talking about people like Tom Cruise, Daniel Day-Lewis, going back further in time, your Clark Gables, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I do think that it is a generational thing, and maybe there will be someone after Tom Cruise who rises up. Maybe it's Timothée Chalamet. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is a piece of me that thinks, and yes, this is prediction in the future, Josh, which I don't think trying to predict the future is a bad thing. I don't think we're going to see another superstar like Tom Cruise for a long time.
He's a great movie star. I'm not arguing that point with you. He's a great movie star. I'm thinking of some of the other movies that he did outside of this franchise. I thought that Oblivion was...
Who in history do you think has been as big of a movie star as Tom Cruise?
I would probably say John Wayne.
Okay, I agree. And don't you think that is an argument for generational? Because I don't know that anybody was as big as John Wayne at the time.
I'm not saying he's not a generational talent. I'm arguing with the point that he's the last great movie star.
I know you've argued that point over and over. Let's move on from that. He's
got a tremendously high level of charisma, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I don't think he's trying. That's, I think, what makes it even more impressive. Is like you can definitely tell when people are trying to be cool. I don't know that I've ever seen Tom Cruise walk a red carpet where somebody has dressed him. Like your Timothée Chalamets do, or even your like Daniel Craig. He just wears what he wants to wear. He just has, that level of confidence. He's not trying to do anything. He just does it. Which I think is amazing. The thing that solidified him as one of my favorite actors, and to me, making stupid claims like he's the last great movie star, was his role in Tropic Thunder. Had he not done Tropic Thunder, I'd probably think 50% as highly of him as I do. Him showing his comedic range in Tropic Thunder, to me, is what just set him apart. I think it's pretty easy to do drama. I think that most comedies are dramas, but you cannot go from being a dramatic actor to being a comedic actor unless you have comedic timing. You can go from being a comedic actor to being a dramatic actor easier. And his comedic timing, Tropic Thunder, was so incredible. That movie did more for me to propel him to superstar status than anything else.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Jeff, I don't think we can do a mental health and cinema podcast talking about Tom Cruise without addressing, what I'm sure we're going to get feedback on is, why aren't you talking about Tom Cruise's mental health? Well, we're not talking about Tom Cruise's mental health because I've never evaluated Tom Cruise, and there's not a lot out there publicly. There's been speculation, but we want to keep this really above board. It is not ethical for a psychiatrist to opine on somebody's mental health without having evaluated them and without having a release. So I don't know. Can what you Tom Cruise has got.
Can you opine on people who are members of Scientology?
Cannot. I mean, just because, I haven't evaluated them. Now, what I will say about Scientology has a very public-facing anti-psychiatry bent. That is one of the things that is, very well known. I have had to walk through picket lines at conferences of Scientologists to get in. That's their particular bent. And I'm glad that in our country people have the First Amendment rights to say what they believe and say what they think. We will have to disagree on that point. I just want people to get help for problems that they're having, and however that help is working for them, I want them to do it. And I just happen to be of the philosophy and of the training that science and psychiatry is the way to do it in these particular points of view. So
I love that. That's so well said. I just love that, a religion who does not believe in what you do, you're still like, yeah, you're entitled to that belief, and if you need help, go get it. That's really great. My thing,
Jeff,
about
I can't remember who said it, but as I was a member of the United States Army, and one of the things that I've always believed about this country is that I would lay down my life to defend your right to say that which I don't agree with.
Okay, I want to talk about transgender in the military.
Took a turn.
You're absolutely right, Josh. But that is starting to not be the norm. That is starting to not be the norm. Now it's, if you don't agree with us, we're going to lock you up. That is what our nation is starting to become. And this week, this is in the news, so it's something I did want to talk about. Pete Hegseth is trying to fight, the woke agenda. And so anybody who is transgender who's in the military, they're going to find you out, and they're going to dismiss you from the Army. I am so pissed about that. One, you have these armchair fucking cowboys who never served, believing that they have a right to tell anybody, how to serve. But people who are transgender and entered the military knowing that a good portion of the country hates them, but they still want to serve their country, those are the real heroes. Those people are truly heroic because they're fighting for a country that a good portion of it hates them for who they are, but they're still doing it anyway. The fact that we don't think that these people are heroic for that act alone is insanity to me. It's insanity. And I want to ask you a specific question about it, because one of the reasons why they feel like they're able to dismiss them is because transgender people have gender dysphoria. Is there any validity to that?
So gender dysphoria in the DSM-5 is your distress based on the mismatch between your internally held gender and your body. If you don't have that level of discomfort between that, and when you're totally cool with this mismatch, then you don't have a mental health condition. So not everybody who's a true transgender has gender dysphoria. Even if they did, you can have mental health conditions and be in the military. Just because it's in the DSM-5, there are lots of folks with diagnosable anxiety disorders, major depressive disorder, PTSD.
Right. So what stuff did you see as a doctor in the military that is akin to gender dysphoria? I mean, you saw probably people with, I don't even know. This thing, I don't even know where to start with this. It enrages me. You were a psychiatrist in the military. Talk about that.
I want to go back to something you said before getting that. You said that when I said that I would lay down my life to defend your right to say that with which I disagree,
right.
You said that's not what our nation is becoming. And I want to argue with you about that, because what I think you mean is that's not what our government is becoming. And that is different than our nation. I truly and firmly believe that our American nation still holds those principles very, very dearly. Remember, this government was voted in with less than 50% of those who voted, and only 65% of eligible voters voted. So I still firmly believe that those are our nation's principles, and that is one of the reasons why you and I have chosen to speak out about them during our funny cinema and mental health podcast.
Josh, if you don't show up, then you're just as complicit, and you and I absolutely disagree on this. The slow erosion of who we are as a nation, I think, has been happening for 20 years. And if you're watching the slow erosion and you don't agree with it, but you don't show up to vote, then that is who we are. So we're either this version of America that I can't stand, or we're too lazy to do something about it. But either way, it's not good. Either way, I don't know what we're supposed to hang our hat on as to what we're proud of. As a nation, there are individuals that I'm incredibly proud of. I think AOC and Bernie are crushing it right now. Those are two politicians that I'm proud of. Mm-hmm. Those are people that I hope win us back from the brink. But if I look at our nation as to who we are right now, we are incredibly soft people who like to bitch about everything. That is our current national identity.
General Stanley McChrystal has a new book out, and after you finish listening to all of our library of podcasts, I encourage people to listen to his interview with Jon Stewart on The Daily Show from May 12th, I believe it is, where he talks about national character, and he does it in an incredibly deft way, not alienating either side, but saying we have to have character, we have to have conviction, and we have to have the actions behind that. I agree with you, Jeff, that there is a battle for America's character going on, but I think that there's always been a battle for America's character. I think right now it's magnified and highlighted by some actions in a government that have never been taken before, at least in our lifetime, and by social media, and by the perceived anonymity that social media gives people to go out there and troll each other.
Yeah.
I think that impulse to troll each other is kind of part of humanity, sure. But now it's just been given an avenue in which to basically bully each other.
Yeah,
but
it's a fire that has kerosene thrown on it.
On to our principles, what you truly believe in about America, that America has the potential to be the greatest nation of all time. We have the potential to do that because of our Constitution, which is malleable in some ways, and that we're always striving to do better. That's what America really is about to me.
Okay, let's talk about something more fun, Josh, because one of the things that I think is really fun about the Mission Impossible series is the McGuffin, the use of the McGuffin. And so for those of you that don't know, a McGuffin is essentially a desired object in a film that has very little to do with the story. It's just something that the main character is trying to get. And it could be anything. It really doesn't matter what it is. It affects the plot a little bit, but not the story. And the reason why I love them so much in Mission Impossible is because they have virtually nothing to do with caring about the characters at all. First movie, it's the knock list. It's basically a DVD. What did that DVD do? I remember because I just watched the movie, but I don't think most people would. Then you have the rabbit's foot, which could just be a little rabbit's foot on a keychain. Don't even remember what the rabbit's foot did. You had launch codes. Again, we're back to a DVD. There was literally a USB drive for one of the movies where they were trying to get the. And then this last one is the crucifix key. It's just all stuff that can fit in your pocket. And so essentially Mission Impossible movies are just watching a 65-year-old man run across the world trying to get his keys back. That's really what the Mission Impossible movies are. And I got to tell you, I'm going to be there on Friday for this next movie, eating popcorn like a madman, watching a 65-year-old man find his keys.
Oh, Jeff, that is fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. The McGuffin is super. It's a super cool technique in storytelling. I mean, if you think about it, most popcorn movies are about MacGuffins.
Right.
The later Fast and the Furious movies also became about finding the latest, technological MacGuffin, the God's Eye, or whatever. It was great. I mean, it's great. Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
So Jeff, do you have a treat for us about?
I do have a
MacGuffins?
little treat, Josh, about MacGuffins, because obviously in thinking about this movie, I was thinking about MacGuffins, and really great MacGuffins do have something to do with the plot. They help the plot move forward. They're integrated into the plot so that we remember what they are. And so there have been some really great MacGuffins throughout history. And so I thought I would give the top 5, according to me, the top 5 MacGuffins of all time in cinema. We've started calling this the top 5 lists that nobody asked for. So this is my top 5 list of MacGuffins that nobody asked for.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
I do. I've got 3. So honorable mention number 1, the golden ticket from Willy Wonka. We all know the golden ticket. We don't have to think about it when it comes to like Willy Wonka, golden ticket, they go hand in hand. The reason it gets an honorable mention is because it's only really used in the first quarter of the film. After that, it's really about the everlasting gobstopper and whether or not he's going to steal it from Willy. We don't remember that as much as we remember the golden ticket. So it was great. It was used in the plot. It's memorable, but it was only used in the first quarter of the movie. Cup of Christ from Indiana Jones.
Sure.
We loved the Cup of Christ. It was awesome. Very, very memorable. And the fact that the movie is really about Indy just trying to find his dad takes that movie to the next level. My only issue is they find it, he drinks out of it, and there's no repercussions.
Right.
I think he just immediately loses the ability to live forever. And so it doesn't make the list because there's something from the Indiana Jones franchise that's better, and so we might see that later.
Sure. He gained immortality, but lost the ability to make a compelling Indiana Jones movie after that.
Oh, that facts. Another honorable mention: the briefcase from Pulp Fiction. The reason why I love this one is because it has sparked so much conversation about what it was. So it became sort of a cultural event in itself. Was it Marcellus Wiley's soul? That's the prevailing theory. But at the time, in the movie, I don't particularly think it's all that interesting. But it's great. I mean, it's an honorable mention. I think it's possibly top 10. Here's my Hall of Shame, Josh. Before I do honorable mention, the Hall of Shame, the worst one ever. Unobtainium from Avatar.
Yes.
This was a MacGuffin that they forgot to rename. There was no way anybody would call anything unobtainium. It's unobtainable. That's what it is. So unobtainium is the stupidest, poorly named MacGuffin in the history of MacGuffins. That being said, Josh, count me down.
Jeff, give us your number 5 best MacGuffin
so number
of all time.
5. Number 5 comes from a movie I don't think a lot of people have seen, and it comes from Ronin, and it's the briefcase in Ronin. The movie is about trying to recover this briefcase. We find out later the twist is De Niro had worked for the CIA the whole time, so he was just trying to take out this boss. But the reason I love it so much, and it's such a good MacGuffin, is they specifically say it doesn't matter what's in the briefcase. And so they acknowledge the MacGuffinness of the MacGuffin. And I always thought that was brilliant. And they made us want to know what was in the case because they refused to tell us. And it's a great example of the J.J. Abrams mystery box. It's way more interesting to not know what's in the box and imagine what's in the box. So that was a fantastic MacGuffin.
That's a great one, Jeff. Folks, if you haven't seen Ronin, go see rent it, stream it. Robert De Niro, Sean Bean, a young Stellan Skarsgård, fabulous movie. Okay, Jeff, number 4.
Number 4, I did not want to put this one on the list because I know I'm going to get hate for it, and I couldn't put it number 5 because people would just turn off this list. It's The Heart of the Ocean from Titanic. I know. I hear you. But in thinking about it, I can't not include this. The movie starts with Bill Pullman trying to find the heart of the ocean, trying to find this, this jewel. They come across this 80-year-old lady shows up out of nowhere, tells them the tale of Titanic. We see an amazing movie. This movie set all the records in the world. And in the end, we learn that she had the heart of the ocean the entire time. Dumps it into the ocean. I thought that was an amazing MacGuffin. It also, for me, sparks one of the stupidest plot points I think I've ever seen in a movie, which is that she saved this heart of the ocean, this incredibly valuable jewel, only to dump it in the ocean later. But yeah, the heart of the ocean,
and to never have sold it in her entire,
despite having children,
lifestyle,
despite having children and a new husband that she clearly must have liked a little bit, didn't bother to bail them out of middle classness.
Sure.
Needed to throw it back in the ocean for this man that she met for a week and a half. That's my number 4.
Okay, I almost just want to stop the list right there.
That's
give
fair.
us number 3.
Okay, so number 3 is Private Ryan from Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, so you're saying a MacGuffin can be a person?
A MacGuffin can be a person, and that's what's so cool about the MacGuffin is it's just an item or something or someone that we're searching for throughout the movie. And in the searching for Private Ryan, they discover a lesson about humanity, and they learn something about, is one soldier worth it? And so the whole theme of the movie revolves around the question, should we be after this MacGuffin? It's not, this is just a thing and we're going to, go over here and do some stuff. The whole journey is about whether the journey is meaningful. And that I thought, made Private Ryan an incredible MacGuffin and made it worthy of the number 3 spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 2.
Okay, so number 2, this is where Indiana Jones comes back in. It's the Ark of the Covenant.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and the Ark is a little bit of just a thing. It's a little bit of does it really matter? But the reason why I've got it at number 2 is because of its historical significance and what was so interesting about what was going on in the world at the time. Do you know what the Ark actually represented, Josh?
Jeff, tell me.
Nuclear war.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
It was a movie,
1981 movie. Yeah,
that's right. It was, but I think if you ask people, they probably wouldn't think about this. 1981. It's the height of the Cold War, and what was the Ark? It was a weapon that was so powerful we couldn't let it into the hands of the Nazis, the bad guys, and in the end, it was so powerful. It was better to not see it. It was better to not experience it, and we need to lock it way away. And never look at it again. This was a profound statement about nuclear power, which was the most important thing going on in the 80s. And so, because of its cultural context, cultural significance, I put the Ark at number 2.
Well, that's amazing, Jeff. So, give us number 1, your number 1 MacGuffin.
So, more important than preventing nuclear war was the joy and fun of finding all the Infinity Stones from Infinity. No, not Infinity War. What was it? It was Infinity War.
Yeah. Avengers: Infinity War. And then
was Infinity War, and then what was the fucking follow-up? Endgame was So more important than finding a nuclear weapon was finding the Infinity Stones. In those 2 movies, they kept appearing throughout every part of the movie. They were entirely integral in the plot. We were constantly seeing what they were capable of. They're the perfect MacGuffin. You could never do better than that MacGuffin, because we were constantly seeing their relation to each other. We were constantly being explained to what they could do and then seeing it. And so the story just weaved right through all the Infinity Stones. So if you ever want to figure out exactly the perfect way to do a MacGuffin, it's the Infinity Stones from Marvel.
Yeah, and it spanned. They spanned several movies. They became plot points in several movies. They were actually the Infinity Stones themselves, and including individual ones of the Infinity Stones, were MacGuffins in other Marvel movies.
That's right, and poorly done sometimes. The Tesseract, I never knew what that was until it was explained. Oh, I think it wasn't the Time Stone. It was
the Power Stone.
The Power Stone. So much more interesting. But when it was just the Tesseract, that was not particularly all that well done. But when we saw the context and saw it actually work, it was really well done. The Time Stone in Doctor Strange was really well done. He ends up defeating the villain because he just uses the Time Stone over and over again and creates essentially a stalemate.
Yeah.
Where we have to break the stalemate because I'm using over and over again the Time Stone. So that was a time when it was done well. So, it's not universal that Marvel's going to do a good job with the MacGuffins. But yeah, those are my top 5 MacGuffins.
That's the list that nobody asked for.
That's the
Jeff.
list that nobody asked for. Josh, you wanted to say something about librarians, I believe.
Oh God, do I? So this is a story from the news this week, and interestingly enough, we've gotten some love/hate from our growing audience of librarians. Some folks were really peeved that I took a crap on Noah Wiley's performance in The Librarians, but I just want to say how much I respect librarians. And here's why. Here's what has happened in the last couple weeks. So this goes out to all our librarian fans who stan us, or as I like to call them, our libraristans at this point. But on May 8th, President Trump fired the Librarian of Congress.
Right.
So Carla Hayden had been the Librarian of Congress for several years. And White House Press Secretary said that, quote, there were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress.
Krossenstein?
It's her last name's Levitt. I can't remember.
Oh, Caroline Levitt. Right. I thought it was Krossenstein.
She said there were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress in the pursuit of DEI and putting inappropriate books in the library for children. And we don't believe that she was serving the interest of the American taxpayer. I can only assume that the things she'd done in the pursuit of DEI was simply be an African-American librarian.
Sure.
In terms of putting inappropriate books in the library for children, the Library of Congress accepts most all books that are published as part of their catalog. It's a research library. It's not a lending library. And so you have to be 16 to even be able to use their research tools.
Right.
So I just want to say to my librarians out there, I see you. This sucked, and I know lots of people are enraged about it. But what I really want people to kind of focus on is the next shoe that fell in the Library of Congress. So on May 11th, they then fired the head of the U.S. Copyright Office. That's part of the Library of Congress. And the head of the U.S. Copyright Office was Sherry Perlmutter. Now, is this coincidence? You tell me, Jeff. The Copyright Office recently released a report that copyright holders should have some control over their works when used to train AI.
Okay.
Trump was bankrolled by tech companies with lots of AI interest. So a lot of people are drawing connections between this, and I don't know if there's connections or not. I think it's very curious. I'll say 2 things about this. One, don't mess with librarians. They hold the keys to history and knowledge, and I think what you're seeing in here is you're seeing an attempt to try to change or bend history and our national bank of knowledge. And I want to say Let's not let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really fair to say. I mean, I saw a news article this week about, I think it was the superintendent of, I can't remember what school district, but they were including evidence that January 6th, like that the 2020 election was stolen, and they were including it as fact, and they were making it be taught as if it was factual that the 2020 election was stolen. And you know, they are actively trying to rewrite history as we speak.
Correct, and make it more malleable for AI, I think. And anyways, to our librarian fans out there, I see you, I hear you. We know this is happening, and we don't want it to happen.
Yeah, the problem for you, Josh, is that I do think that Noah Wiley would be a really good resource in this fight, and you have crapped on him. You know, so that's the...
If I can at all make it up to the Librarians fan base, which, by the way, I do see they're rebooting the Librarians franchise.
Ooh.
Yeah.
With Noah?
No.
Okay. There's a point in your column.
No. No.
Although the Libraristans are going to have a field day with that one.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to be asked to cover that.
Josh, my wife asked us to cover Interstellar because she loves our podcast, but she's never watched a movie. And so
that we've done, or she's never watched a movie, period.
Basically, if it's not Father of the Bride, she hasn't seen it. But she saw a little bit of Conclave, so loved it. But, you know, she's supportive, she listens, but she's like, would you just do a movie that I've seen? So she wants us to cover Interstellar because she just saw it and loved it. I think Interstellar would be a good one to cover.
Sure.
So what do you think about covering Interstellar coming up here at some point?
For the wife of the editor? Yes, absolutely.
Maybe I'll even have her come on and say a little something. My wife happens to
I think
be...
Interstellar has a lot of potentially great mental health topics.
My wife happens to be relatively famous. For those who don't know, her name is Mary of Harrington. A lot of people who find our stuff on YouTube are searching for Mary of Harrington and end up clicking on our stuff because I think I put her in Large and in Charge is her in my channel, so her name is in like the tags. So a lot of people are searching for Mary of and end up finding our podcast. So, you know, let's just give the people what they're looking for and have her on at some point. And
let's not let anybody make any mistakes about this. Mary Ev is the in charge part of the large and in charge.
Correct. Yeah. That's why it's large. I am not large and in charge. I am large. She's in charge. That's why our company is named that. And we could do How I Met Your Mother. She was in that. We could do Ice Age Continental Drift. She was in that movie as the cute little squirrels that are hanging out. Those would be fun. Yeah, we need to feature Mary Ev more. She's great. She's great.
Sorry. She is great. I was wow, I missed that one. She is great. Yeah.
All right. I was going to say something about the idiocy of HBO's branding. I'm just going to say it really fast. I'm really glad they're calling it HBO again. That was the dumbest move in history. Congratulations to David Zaslav for reversing on that one. I did think that there was an article in Variety about it, and this is the dumbest PR thing I've ever heard somebody say. They switched the name back, and they're like, we're going to continue the bold direction of consumer-based input into our branding decisions.
Bold. Look,
that's bold, Josh.
Jeff,
it is bold to listen to your audience.
There is nothing bolder than doing what someone else wants.
It's a good thing for me fortune favors the bold, as we often say.
Oh, that's something.
That's so bold. So bold.
Bold.
Yeah. All right, Josh. I think that's it for us. Thank you, as always, everyone, for watching or listening to Cinemental and our continuing coverage of Mission Impossible and the franchise. If you like this episode, please subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. You can also watch clips of Cinemental on YouTube, where we'd love to hear what you would like us to cover next. Also, If you have other McGuffins that you loved, please let me know. I think it'd be super interesting to hear what you liked. You can also watch my companion series, The One Thing, where I take a deeper dive into screenwriting, both available on the Large and in Charge channel on YouTube. Follow Dr. Josh Jones, America's Psychiatrist, on Blue Sky. This has been a Large and in Charge production. For Josh Jones, I am Jeff Jones, and we will see you next week.